There is a gigantic war happening in my yard. Ants, different tribes of which are at war for resources, territory, and food, all within my backyard, we've called Antopia. Antopia is an almost 3,000 square meter plot of tropical landscape, exploding with life. Dense and towering plants, horned beasts that eat them, colorfully armored nomads, and of course, battalions of various warriors, the most powerful of which are ant colonies. I've been meticulously following this great Antopian war and have mapped out the exact locations of all the ant colony encampments I could find. And so far, I've discovered that there are two main teams of ants. Team native ants, including weaver ants from the treetops, Asian marauder ants with their huge super majors, big-headed ants from the outer bamboo forests, elusive Odontopanera ants, twig ants inhabiting stick hollows, and recently identified flower ants living in acacia bark. These native ants have lived in Antopia for millions of years in the land passed down to them from their ancestors. But today they fight a great war against their arch enemies. Team invasive ants, black crazy ants, ghost ants, pharaoh ants, and the fearless fire ants. These invasive ant newcomers have only recently been introduced to Antopia by way of human activities over the last few decades, and have been mercilessly outcompeting, displacing, and killing Team Native ants for the abundance of food, resources, and space that exists here. Now initially I thought Team Native ants was winning this war against Team Invasive ants, but after seeing what I'm about to show you today, I fear the tables may be turning. And if Team Invasive ants does win the war, and they manage to completely wipe out Team Native ants, this could mean the ultimate destruction of Antopia's delicate ecosystem. Now if you thought all of this was crazy enough, guys, the plot just got crazier. It turns out there are other tribes of ants living in Antopia to add to the map that I hadn't spotted before, as well as the presence of some well-known ant enemies, termites and frogs. Ladies and gentlemen, put on your battle gear because it's time to venture into the trenches of the Antopian War here on the AntsCanada Ant Channel. Please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon. Welcome to the AC family. Enjoy. AC family, there's so much I have to show you. I was able to visit the ant house this week, future location of Ant Room 2.0, for our various pet ant colonies, and I'm pleased to share that construction is coming along well and on schedule. But checking the yard, Antopia was again such an eye-opener. There is so much that goes on in the micro world outside that we are totally oblivious to. So in a video 2 weeks ago, we saw that Team Native ants seem to have a good upper hand in the Great Antopian War against Team Invasive ants, simply because the native ant sightings appeared to outnumber the invasive ones, and we even saw a killed invasive fire ant in the powerful jaws of a native weaver ant. But as you'll see in a second, I'm not so sure anymore if that will continue to be the case. I want to know what you guys think, so keep on watching until the end and let me know your opinions. The first area of concern are these girls. Fire ants. These ladies are ferocious. Look at how fierce they are as they dig out new burrows. Digging out new burrows means this colony is expanding quickly. Now seeing the fire ants digging so eagerly concerns me. First, because we've already mapped two separate fire ant colonies in Antopia, and this one, which isn't too close to the other colonies, is possibly a third fire ant colony living in Antopia. Or second, this nest opening here could simply be a connection to one of the other colonies via an extensive underground tunnel. That idea scares me because that means this fire ant colony must be absolutely massive. Anyone who knows fire ants knows their trouble. They are concerning agricultural pests in certain places of the world, including the US, as they wipe out and/or displace local ants and animals, and also farm and protect plant parasites like aphids and plant insects, as we saw in our last video. And this endangers agricultural crops. We are no stranger to fire ants, as we currently care for the Phoenix Empire, our massive colony of fire ants, and have long known how savage they are after years of keeping and performing experiments with the Fire Nation, my former fire ant colony. Fire ants are nimble enough to climb along a tightrope to get to food, are completely waterproof as they float on water, and can scuba dive, have a crazy sting that I can testify does not tickle, and reproduce super fast. It only took 7 months for our Phoenix Empire to get from just a queen to a full-blown colony of millions. Now imagine a wildfire ant colony, where you have a crazy abundance of food, plant insects, and space to nest. Our Phoenix Empire grew on a couple roaches a day and jelly cups, and were restricted to a moated terrarium. But in the wild, ants simply don't have portioned feeding regimes, and are 100% free to expand outwards and create massive underground nests. This is why seeing these fire ants here concerns me, because this colony could possibly be huge. And where there is a huge colony, you know that every mouth of that colony needs to be fed. AC family, check out what else I saw. Just nearby was a meat fest. Fire ants engaged in a frenzy, feasting on a frog they had managed to kill. If you're an OG of this channel, you might recognize this frog, as it is a native microhylid frog. The same type of frog I used to eliminate zombie mite-infested yellow crazy ants within the Hacienda del Dorado a couple years back. They usually feed on ants, but it seems this poor frog picked on the wrong ants, or at least had not evolved to eat and deal with ants like fire ants. Like a vicious pack of meat-hungry velociraptors, the fire ants tore deep into the frog's carcass and carried the chunks of frog meat back to the colony for further processing. Check out that fire ant super major working on snipping off that meat chunk. Again, seeing the fire ants like this was concerning because it was evidence that the fire ants were officially attacking local wildlife. To think an ant-eating frog was now prey to ants is an irony that pains me. With a growing population, the fire ants' lust for meat was growing. I also have a few chickens on the property. For all of you in the US who live in fire ant country, should I worry about the fire ants eating my chickens and or their chicks? How about my goats? Are they safe? I have a lot of experience with fire ants as pets, but literally zero experience with living on their land. Or land they're in the process of dominating, rather. Whatever the case, these fire ants, which were members of Team Invasive Ants, were very scary, simply due to the possibility of sheer size and their hunger for meat. But now AC family, for another very concerning sight I saw not too far away. Racing along trails that stretched on for meters and meters were these little turbos. AC family, these are ghost ants, also members of Team Invasive Ants. Now, in a previous video, we simply spotted them here, along the wall, when we first laid down ant baits in an experiment to see what species of ants we'd lure out from the yard. Now, seeing these rapidly flowing trails of ghost ants carrying food and brood around was also concerning, because it was impossible to tell if these were the same colony as we saw a few weeks back along the wall, or a totally new colony, or possibly both. Here's why. Ghost ants, like very many other notorious invasive ants, except for fire ants, can have multiple queens in a single colony. Not only that, but 2 different colonies of ghost ants can actually join forces and fuse to create huge super colonies. Not only that, but ghost ants are nomadic ants and are constantly on the move without a permanent home, so they travel to where food is. All this makes ghost ants truly a force to reckon with in the Antopian War. They may be small, but like the fire ants, they conquer by sheer numbers. They might not have a painful sting nor a lust for meat like fire ants do, but they are experts at driving out ants from their nests. They can infiltrate the nest entrances of ants and completely swarm ant colonies, ransacking nests of ant brood and food, driving out entire colonies from their homes. Again, the ghost ant lifestyle makes them one of the world's most pestiferous invasive ants. And I've seen them in every tropical and subtropical country of the world I've ever visited. From Mexico to Cuba to Sri Lanka, Micronesia, Borneo, and every country here in Southeast Asia. So it seems, AC family, that perhaps my logic of counting the number of Team Native versus Team Invasive ant sightings might not have been the most accurate way to determine who was winning this great Antopian war, because doing so failed to take into consideration the volume of ants per colony. There could be 8 colonies of native ants in an area, and only 2 colonies of invasive ones, for instance. But the native ants don't stand a chance if the 2 invasive ant colonies are massive in size and hard to combat. So AC family, I'm going to need your opinions on what to do. And I do have 2 very different options for you guys to assess. But before that, I have another interesting colony to introduce you guys to that I discovered living in Antopia. But this time, this wasn't a colony of ants. Within this outcrop of rotting bamboo lays a silent colony of insects that have long been fighting a war with ants over millions of years in Earth's history. They're not related to ants, and biologically speaking, they are very different creatures. AC family, meet the colony of termites I found living in Antopia. Aren't they spectacular? This termite colony lives discreetly in some rotting bamboo. Now, about the many differences between ants and termites, the first thing that may surprise you is that termites are actually more related to roaches than to ants. Also, they actually eat and digest wood, unlike ants which simply live and burrow into wood, but discard all the wood dust. Also, in an ant colony, the workers are all barren females. In termites, the workers are both barren males and females. Another thing that makes them unique is that they don't undergo complete metamorphosis like ants do, having stages of egg, larva, pupa, then adult. Termites simply have an egg, then hatch into a small version of their adult form called a nymph, then grow into an adult. Another cool difference is that a termite colony actually has both a queen and a king. They pair up during nuptial flight, then stay together for life, raising a termite kingdom together. In ants, however, males die after mating, leaving the queen to be a single mother to raise her colony on her own. Unless, of course, she's one of those species where multiple queens raise their young together. But still, no kings exist in the ant world, just queens. Wow, guys, check out that soldier! Termites, like ants, do have special workers, these soldiers, for defense. And speaking of which, AC family, as I watched the cute termites moving around, going about their business in the rotting bamboo, a commotion caught my eye. Ants. Ants had appeared on the scene to snatch and ransack the termite colony. An Asian marauder ant came and seized a termite, carrying it back to the nest to feed on. I spotted another carrying one back. OMG, an ant versus termite war was happening right now. Termites are an excellent and important food source for ants, as their bodies are soft and juicy, packed to the cuticle with valuable nutrients. Check this out, guys. At first glance, it looked like these 2 Asian marauder ants were carrying the seized termite. But upon closer inspection, one of the ants had died and was stuck to some glue-like material that was actually making it harder for the other ant to carry the termite around. You know what this glue-like material was? It's something the termites are able to produce as a defense. They use it to build their tunnels, but can also shoot it out to form a sticky slime that makes it hard for ants to move around once they get stuck in it. Termite glue was the termites' defense against the ants. But it didn't stop the ants from coming. And AC family, I wasn't prepared to see the ants that appeared on the scene next. Asian bullet ants! What? We have Asian bullet ants in Antopia? How awesome! We are no stranger to these savage girls, as we own 2 colonies, known together as the Black Panthers, and we know full well how much they love termite meat. Snatched! Whoa! The Asian bullet ant stung and took a termite home. These huge black ants with a sting that hurts like crazy are true hunters. And it seemed word of the termites had made its way to their nest somewhere. I'm happy to report that these ants belong to Team Native Ants, and I was actually happy to see them here, snatching termites left, right, and center. This was native food, for natives only. Suddenly, another group of ants appeared on the scene. Big-headed ants, again from Team Native Ants. They were quick to snatch up some termites and take them home, although a couple sadly got caught in the termite glue. Then, yet another tribe belonging to Team Native Ants showed up. Odontopanera! I rarely get a chance to film these ants well because they're constantly on the move. I was happy to see them here at the termite nest, hunting for termites too, along with their various fellow native ants. But then, enemies. ghost ants had discovered the termite fun and were quick to swarm onto the scene for termite meat, or perhaps attempt to steal the other ants' catches. If there was only a way I could weed these ghost ants out. Speaking of which, as this battle between ants and termites unfolds, I'm going to take this time now to ask you guys your opinions on dealing with team invasives. So as you can see, Team Native Ants still seems to be okay in terms of competition for food, but members of Team Invasives are already showing signs of impacting Antopia's native ecosystem. As we saw, fire ants are killing native frogs, and ghost ants are flowing into Antopia like crazy, and crashing into Team Native Ant termite hunting parties. So, there are two options I've considered. The first option is the merciless option. Many myrmecologists suggest pouring boiling water repeatedly over fire ant nests. This, of course, is a moral struggle for me, and I've tried to run polls on Twitter, but regardless of the results, it's just so anti-ant to do this. Or maybe it's anti-ant not to pour boiling water on the invasives. I don't know. I don't think the boiling water would work against the ghost ants because their colonies and their queens are just too spread out. And again, they'll just come pouring back in, even if we did manage to boil a good amount of the colony. The second option is a more eco-friendly option in my mind, and that is to simply support Team Native Ants by feeding native ant colonies directly at their nests, so they claim food first. I could plant more trees and shrubs to encourage more native arboreal species like weaver ants to inhabit Antopia, which we already know are successful fire ant killers. I could also release native ants into the area. I've been planning on releasing our bobbleheads, our colony of big-headed ants that I've been keeping for a couple years now, and I'm okay to let go, because just a few weeks ago, I received a huge super colony of a very invasive big-headed ant species. So I'm not letting it go, and I don't have a need for two big-headed ant colonies. So what do you guys think of that idea? I could also release one of my 2 teams of Asian bullet ants to help support the bullet ant population of Antopia. Let me know what you guys think. Maybe you feel I shouldn't do either, and should just not interfere and allow nature to take its course. I'm interested to hear what you guys think, AC family. An hour later, the site of the termite nest was deserted by the teams of ants. The termites had managed to seal up all holes to their nests with termite glue, and there was no more opportunity for the ants to access them. The microworld out in the wild is truly mind-blowing. This channel has mostly been dedicated to filming the ants in elaborate ant farm setups and terrariums, and it has helped us learn about the ants we love in a very controlled and rather clinical way. But I've realized that in the real world, there's a whole slew of different rules and circumstances that apply to every living thing in it, where the law of survival of the fittest truly reigns supreme. Now that we're in the process of moving out of my condo in the concrete jungle and literally into the middle of an actual jungle farm, I've discovered there's an entirely different and infinitely larger world on the outside. I'm sure what we saw today is only a tiny glimpse of the full complex picture of the everyday stories that happen in Antopia. And I look forward to discovering more of the secrets this enchanted land holds. It's the terrarium of Mother Nature, guys. Let's hope Team Native Ants keeps on persevering and pushing back their invasive enemies for their sake, and that of all the precious life of Antopia. Until our next visit to our great backyard, thank you for watching and supporting the ants. It's Ant Love forever. AC family, did you enjoy this week's episode? Don't worry, this channel will still be about our pet ants in the Antiverse. But I think filming and documenting the real-life stories of the wild ants of Antopia is just as cool. What do you guys think? So many more ant videos are ahead, so if you haven't yet, do smash that subscribe button and bell icon now, and hit all so you get notified at every upload. Also, don't forget to hit the like button every single time, including now. It would really mean a lot to me, guys. Thank you. AC Inner Colony, I have left a hidden cookie for you here. If you would like to watch extended play footage of the ants and termites of Antopia, go check them out. And guys, in case you haven't heard yet, our AC Holiday Sale 2020, where you get 20% off our AC Ant Tower Small and AC Hybrid Nest Mini, is still in effect at our shop at AntsCanada.com. And on top of that, if you use the promo code AntLoveForever2020, you get our Ultimate Ant Keeping Handbook ebook, complete with care guides on specifically commonly kept ant species, totally free, which you can add to your cart before checking out. Our easy-to-use ant farms, which you see me use in my videos, make an awesome holiday gift for anyone who loves ants. We ship worldwide and also offer full email support if you need our help. Plus, if you didn't catch a queen ant this season and need ants, just visit the Queen Ants for Sale tab on our site to look for an ant colony seller in your area. Just a reminder that though it's too late to order for delivery before Christmas, this awesome promo still continues until January 1st, 2021. So visit AntsCanada.com today and get your discount to own your very first AC ant farm and pet ant colony. And now it's time for the AC question of the week. Last week we asked, what is your favorite feature about this Crystal Cave Temple Terrarium? Congratulations to Stallheart385, who answered, my favorite feature is hands down the glowing crystals. Congratulations, Stallheart385, you just won a free Ultimate Ant Keeping Handbook from our shop. In this week's AC question of the week, we ask, name one difference between termites and ants. Leave your answer in the comment section, and you could also win a free Ultimate Ant Keeping Handbook from our shop. Hope you can subscribe to the channel as we upload every Saturday at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed this video to help us keep making more. It's Ant Love forever.